Have you ever felt like you're not good enough? Like you're struggling to find confidence in yourself and your abilities? You're not alone. Many of us face situations in life where we feel uncertain, inadequate, or just plain scared. But what if I told you that there's a way to overcome those feelings of self-doubt and find a sense of confidence that's unshakable? One of the biggest obstacles to confidence is fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough. It's a vicious cycle that can be hard to break. But when we turn to God's words, we find a different narrative. We find a God who loves us, who believes in us, and who has a plan to prosper us, not to harm us. Let's dive into some biblical verses that speak directly to our confidence. The first one is from Proverbs 31:25, which says, "She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future." This verse tells us that our confidence comes not from our own abilities, but from God's strength and dignity. Another verse that's really spoken to me is Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This verse reminds us that God has a plan for our lives, and it's a good one. One of my favorite verses is Psalm 139:14, which says, "I praise you because I am fearful and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that fully well." This verse tells us that we are not just good enough, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And finally, let's look at 2 Corinthians 12:9, which says, "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.'" This verse reminds us that our confidence doesn't come from our own strength, but from God's power in our weakness. I want to share a personal story that illustrates just how powerful God's words can be in our lives. A few years ago, I was going through a tough season of self-doubt and fear. But one day I stumbled upon Psalm 27:4, which says, "One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple." As I read those words, something shifted inside of me. I realized that my confidence wasn't about me. It was about God. It was about seeking him, trusting him, and believing in his goodness. From that day on, I made a conscious decision to seek God's words every day. I started reading my Bible every morning, seeking his guidance and wisdom. And you know what? It changed everything. As we wrap up today, I want to remind you that embracing God's words can lead to greater self-confidence and assurance. It's not about pretending we're perfect. It's about seeking God's strength and guidance in our imperfections. If this message has blessed you, I invite you to continue watching more videos on the channel and to subscribe so that together we can continue to grow in faith. May God fill you with his peace and love. See you in the next video. Blessings.